Hello and welcome to Zappy Chats, an exclusive HR podcast series. I'm Ranjit, your host for the show. Today's guest is a young HR leader who has been recognized by Society of Human Resource Management India and Economic Times as the top 20 HR influencers of social media. An alumnus of Indian Institute of Management Kozhikode, Jonas Prasanna is an international HR business partner at Boeing. He is responsible for connecting and inspiring people on Boeing's unique culture and enabling employees to own their own development across India, Middle East, and Africa. Jonas is passionate about building people and fostering culture in a digital world. He has more than 12 years of experience in human resource management and he has performed various roles like HR business partnering, employer brand manager, learning and talent advisor, and so on. His industries, his exposure to industries include aerospace, consumer electronics, lighting, information technologies, and startups. Jonas is a regular speaker at various HR and academic forums and a visiting faculty at premium B schools. Welcome to the show, Jonas.
Thank you so much, Ranjit. It's good to connect back with you after so many years, and it's good to also see you. I still remember our college days, and it's wonderful to relive those memories.
Thank you so much, Jonas. So let me start with a personal question. Could you share with us a proudest moment in your career, which you would cherish every day, every moment?
I would say it's very difficult to categorize one single moment that can encapsulate an entire career, but there are certainly moments that matter. And these moments, I feel, are moments that impact people's lives. And when I was performing the role of a talent advisor in talent acquisition, I felt I am impacting both the organization and I'm impacting people's lives. I'm able to give them a job opportunity wherein they can have wealth, and ultimately it benefits their family. The one truly inspiring moment for me was when we launched about a decade back Return to Work initiative for women who have taken a very long career break, minimum of 4 years. And initially, I thought it was very difficult to find these women. How do you find a person who has more than 4 years of experience, 4 years of gap, and wants to enter back into the workforce? And surprisingly, I managed to create that network, get these women to actually come for interview, coach them throughout the interview process, because there are a lot of doubts and anxiety on whether they can perform the role, etc. And also looking back at our organization, preparing our organization for the fact that they need to welcome these folks. They need to also be willing to let them learn and adopt into the organization. And I'm very proud to say there are still a handful of folks over a decade ago were still with that company. So I feel very blessed to be having that opportunity.
That's definitely a proud moment for an HR person to have his recruits flourish in an organization for almost a decade. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. So let me just move this discussion and further. So changing employee-employer relationships, digital workplace, digital workforce, and digital HR. So what's your outlook on these topics, and how do you wish to address these changes in your workplace?
So Vladimir Lenin said there are decades when nothing happens and weeks when decades happen. You know, when COVID hit us last year, and it's been a year almost, we feel it's the new normal right now. There are a number of things that happened to the workplace and organizations. The first thing that would be the digital transformation. And surprisingly, IT and HR were leading the charge when it came to the whole digital as well as workplace transformation. Organizations that took decades to figure out, is work from home a viable option, decided to flip the switch in a couple of weeks' time. And that was done with the help of IT as well as HR. What we're noticing from that transformation is that this traditional form of hierarchy of how information flows into an organization, how people are connected, In a networked world that we are currently living in, it's more of hierarchy. Who is part of your network? How do you get access to that information? It's never always top down. So that's a big trend that we are seeing when it comes to employee-employer relationship, about the workplace and digital workforce. The second big thing that has happened is that software is ruling the business world. It doesn't matter which business you are in, your business runs on software to a large extent. At least your business processes run on software. So as a result of which, the biggest collateral damage that software has brought to the table is the removal of suits. What you're wearing suits, right? Now most people are comfortable wearing hoodies because there's no need to go into the office. So I would say from the suit to the hoodie is what is the new normal. And third thing is well-being, mental health. These were terms that were typically shunned. They were not really talked in the workforce, but they have been at the forefront of the conversation. So these are important trends that we need to address in the workplace.
Interesting thoughts. My next question is on a slightly on a different platform where uh, on the other side, talent has a lot of uh, advantages as well as disadvantages in the new era. So people are getting multiple offers. I mean, candidates have multiple offers in hand. No shows are happening on interviews and even on joining days. Higher employee turnover rates, and longer TAT in hiring. These are some regular statements of worry from the HR colleagues in organizations. So, do you think there is a talent scarcity in the market? How should organizations address this challenge and ensure that it has the right resources where it is needed?
So first and foremost, I don't believe there's a talent scarcity. The reason why I say that is now you have talent and you have a virtual workplace. So you don't need that talent to actually come to your office to actually do the work. So you could be in a city like Bangalore and have talent from a city like Cochin and still executing the kind of work. What this helps you is that the employee is happy if it's their hometown. They have the ecosystem to actually help them concentrate on work, and they're able to do their job. The second thing that I don't think organizations are focusing so much, they put so much of effort in terms of mapping the external talent marketplace. But the irony is that they don't focus on the talent that is underneath their own roof. So you have employees who can be suitable for different roles in your company. There was a study done by Gartner which says that the bottom line impact in terms of cost of employee turnover due to lack of career opportunities is about 49 million per year for an average size company. So, you don't really focus on your internal talent. And the biggest barrier to that is that there is managers want to keep their employees, their team members, because if they lose their team members to another team, their productivity will drop, their results will drop. But if someone's hiring an employee from another team into their team, that's not poaching. That is two managers collaborating for the win of the company at the end of the day. So it addresses things like multiple offers. It addresses things like no-shows and high employee turnover. And there are multiple ways in which you can create an internal talent market for your company. Number one, get your recruiters to proactively reach out to your talent with opportunities, saying, and that is the biggest motivator. Instead of having another recruiter from another company contacting your talent, why don't your recruiters contact your talent? Second, formalize the process. Informal networks through referrals, through connections, you still get those opportunities. But if you formalize the process, for example, in Boeing, when you are applying for internal job opportunities, you have to formally apply for it. And there will be an interview process. So that's how we kind of formalize the whole process to ensure greater diversity of talent. Third, we partner with learning and development. I believe the power couple in any organization is recruiting and learning. So if these two can work hand in hand, one, you can upskill your talent for the needs of the future, and you can do it proactively. You have a longer runway. And last but not least, I would say, don't look for the perfect fit. It's very, very difficult. The advantage that your internal talent has is that they are able to understand the organization, understand the process. They might have adjacent skills. They might not have the exact same skills. But to be very honest, nobody has the 100% skills. Whenever you're hiring talent, you're taking a bet on them at the end of the day. And it's also very important to talk about the success stories, that through a formal process, I managed to get people, they have grown within the organization, so that new people who come, as well as existing people who come into your organization, both see the value of having that internal talent marketplace.
Jonas, who's your role model when coming into the HR domain? And I would like to know, what is one skill you would like to learn from this person?
So the role model for me is Leena Nair. Leena has a lot of firsts in her name. She's the first female, first Asian, youngest ever CHRO for Unilever. She also has a business-facing role where she's part of the Unilever Leadership Executive Forum, where they are responsible for Unilever's business and financial performance. So I believe she's a true role model for an HR professional. I love the fact that she leads with the heart and backs it up with data. So those are two things, and that's a skill that I would say that I want to learn from Leena.
Yeah, a perfect person to be the role model for HR professional. Definitely, we all follow Leena for her thoughts. So this one is a slightly futuristic question, Jonas. What are some of the innovations or disruptions and best practices you wish to see in the next 1 year?
So one thing that I'm looking forward to see in the next 1 year is that design work for well-being. What does that mean? It means the end of the conversation of work-life balance. I don't believe in the term that there is something called work-life balance, because one, we are living in a world where it's a pandemic that is raging all around us. Okay, there is the workers' well-being on one hand, then there is work transformation in terms of how work is done. But leaders in the organization are failing to marry both of them. That is the workers' well-being and the work transformation. One goes, with the other. If we are able as organizations to integrate the design of work for individuals, teams, and at an organization, and build a sustainable future for workers, that is important. Now, I've put in a lot of words. Let me break it down. The traditional way of getting work done was through meetings. And you have heard of Zoom fatigue. People are tired of being on video and going on Zoom calls. So the work still needs to be done, but then leave it to the individual to see how to get the work done. And they could use digital collaboration tools. You could use asynchronous chat to track your work. So there are various different tools that you can use. The second aspect is we've always treated work as 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, because you had to come to office and then leave office. But now you are actually living at home and doing work at home. And you also have home responsibilities. Your spouse or your partner also has expectations to share the workload. So leave that choice of when you want to do the work to the individuals. Some of us are larks, some of us are owls. When I say larks, you like to wake up really early in the morning. Some of us like to work really late at night. So give that choice. Look at work output at the end of the day. And it's very important to invest in manager coaching, because managers are also going through this. And how do you deal with a virtual workforce? You might not have those kind of conversations. How do you build that intimacy? How do you get to know the individual? Is very, very important. Earlier, you had the opportunity to call the individual and say, hey, let's go for a coffee. and let's talk. But now it's not there, and you need to build that skill in the virtual world. So I believe that is an important element of designing work for the well-being of individuals.
A noble thought and a need for the hour. I would say that these are primary requirements for employees to feel valued as well as to give the maximum productivity.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing those points. So Jonas, my next question is for the benefit of young HR professionals who aspire to be Jonas's in future. So what is your advice or what is your guidance to the aspiring young HR professionals?
So I believe HR professionals are cultural observers. And one of the observations that I've seen is um, when I actually talk to business managers, they don't praise their team members enough. So I'll give you an example. When we were children, we are so accustomed to get a constant stream of criticism as well as praise. Criticism when you do something wrong, or praise when you do something right. But as adults, we don't get that. We are not getting somebody to give us a compliment, but we are constantly getting criticism at work and home. So adults are starved for a kind word. So as cultural observers, and when you are coaching managers, I would say encourage them. If you see something that somebody has done well, encourage them to give praise at that moment, because that really matters to an individual. So I would say raise your voice. When you see acts which impress you, give praise.
Yeah, timely appreciation can do wonders, definitely. And you took the right analogy that while we were children, we used to get a lot of praises, but currently it's only the criticism and the failures, what mistakes, what we get pointed out for. With the limited time, we that's the end of the show for Zappy Chats today. Thank you, Jonas, for sharing your valuable time. I understand there is a lot happening at your end, both at the official level as well as on personal things. So thank you so much for sharing your time and sharing your valuable inputs, which will be definitely beneficial for the larger HR professionals out in the market, and as well as for organizations who have taken the right direction towards development and organizational success. So thank you so much, Jonas. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you, Ranjit. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and happy to be part of the whole Zappy Chats journey.